Hey everyone, I'm Kim Cafano, aka the Middle School Mommer, and I am here to help you connect with your child during this season, as well as get equipped to parent them well. I'm excited to welcome Lori Michaels. She's first and foremost my dear friend, but she's also a 7th grade science teacher. So she knows middle schoolers super well, and on top of that, she loves them super well. So she is one of my very top picks for my one of my first interviews here on YouTube. So today, my topic is getting middle schoolers prepped for their first year of middle school. And what is it that parents need to know? We went into it like deer in headlights. We were clinging to our packet of information. We had that. We studied it. We memorized the locker number. Actually, our daughter memorized it on behalf of our son first, and then eventually. But anyways, that was the thing we knew. And then other than that, we knew nothing. So now looking back, I'm like, man, I wish a few people would have said this, that, or the other. And I know that you have, 5 or 6 tips to that you would recommend for parents, even this summer, that they can begin to practice and implement to get their child ready for middle school. So have at it. What do you think parents need to know?
Well, first and foremost, my top recommendation is having them practice using a padlock.
Yes.
Because that's going to be the first thing that they have exposure to when they walk into the building. And so many kids get flustered right away by not knowing how to use their lock, and then that already kind of ruins their morning.
Yeah.
So if they can come into the building knowing how to use their lock, it's kind of like making your bed in the morning. It's like you found success in that, you're going to have a great rest of the day. So if they can get into their locker and get what they need and then go to their class, kind of sets them up for the rest of the day.
That is so good. I have a friend whose daughter cried for the entire first week of middle school because of the locker, 100% the locker thing, and it just broke my heart. That was how her first week was starting, and I was like, how's everything else going? Everything else was going great, but it was just the stupid locker. So you would even say perhaps buy a padlock and simply practice it with them, because it is a skill that even some adults still don't know. I had to relearn how to use a locker combination, but children, almost every child does not know how to do it, so teach them how to do it.
And put that combination somewhere where they have access to it.
That's so good. Yep.
So
very good.
Yeah.
What else?
Another one would just be teaching them to manage their time. So in middle school, they're constantly changing classes. They need to really kind of hone in on what do I need to do right now, what's most important, and what can I save for either later in the evening or even another day or over the weekend.
Yeah.
So just trying to really have them practice identifying, when things are due, how long do they have, a timeline for projects, and then really just splitting up their time. Because again, most kids have extracurricular activities as well.
Yeah.
So just balancing all that out.
Yes. That was our biggest, I think the biggest thing we noticed was it's a heavier workload, and then, longer days. He wouldn't walk in the door till almost it was close to 4. And then if we had an activity to get to, and sometimes we wouldn't get home till 8 o'clock at night, and then it's okay, then there's homework, and so that's smart. And also to identify what do I need to do, what can wait. So yeah, I love that.
Yep.
So good.
Another good one, kind of piggybacking off of that, is having them starting to use either a calendar system or a planner system. All middle schools will provide a paper planner. I know that doesn't work for every kid, but it's definitely a good place to start, and that way it'll also help them practice that time management. You can have them write in there treat it like your own calendar. Have them write in, I have this activity today, or grandma's coming over today. So just even practicing, putting them in charge of keeping track of due dates and stuff like that.
That's good. And even, again, like what you just said, just in the summertime, handing them a planner and having them, because we all do have, hopefully by now, some activities going on, and if you have them write out their own little schedule. I know my son yesterday he did have his own little schedule. He had one friend that was biking to our house to get a ride to the pool, another one that was getting dropped off, and all this information wasn't getting communicated to me, but it was all in his brain. But I'm kind of like, you know what, but if you would have written that all out, that would have been, well, helpful for him and helpful for me too. But he had a whole little schedule going on, so I think it's a good idea, a good way for them to practice, practice even in the summer. So
yeah, and the nice thing is there's so many, if you do have a child who is more technology based, there's so many even online planners that they can use now too. So I will say I've witnessed more success with the paper planners just because it's something tangible and in front of them. I feel like the online planners can kind of go by the wayside because we're not always checking them. We're kind of relying on the kid.
Okay, very good. Love it.
Another one, get them on a sleep schedule. So many of my students will come in and tell me like, oh, I'm so tired today, I stayed up till 2 a.m. So getting them, the middle school students need the most amount of sleep. So getting them on that routine and telling them, you gotta go to bed.
Yes.
So some kind of sleep schedule where they're getting plenty of sleep.
And sticking to it. And maybe, obviously it's summer right now, so, later nights, but maybe the weeks leading up to school start to kind of practice and implement, like, okay, the bedtime's going to be sneaking up a little earlier, and then I know it leads into a point, I don't know if it's going to be your very next point or a point later, but I know you had mentioned, like, technology and kind of cutting that off at a certain point, and it ties in with that as well, just like what's happening in the evenings affects the very next day.
Yeah, and that would be, again, my next suggestion would be taking technology away. Don't let them have it in their room. They have a hard time giving it up. Because would I rather talk to my friend than go to bed? Of course. So if you can get those phones out of the room and just really be strict with that bedtime.
And that's hard for parents, but like you're hearing it from me, you're hearing it from Lori, like do it. Like once they will fight you on it, and that doesn't mean that you give up. Like you're the parent, and like we've just really had to, like, there's so many things that we get battled on, and sometimes we kind of question ourselves, and then we're like, well, no, hang on, listen, these are the rules of the Cafano household, and this is what we're doing. So
And then my very last one would just be have them practice advocating for themselves. Again, in middle school, they're going to have so many different teachers. They're going to be with different kids all day long. So have them practice, for example, if they're really struggling in their math class, instead of you reaching out to the teacher, give them the ownership to reach out.
Oh, that's so awesome.
It's, and that'll continue on into high school and college then. So, because oftentimes, because parents don't know, they're not in the classroom. The child might come home and say, I'm having a tough time in this class. You're only getting part of the story. So that way, if the student can reach out to the teacher has more of a full perspective then, and then they can even ask them follow-up questions, like, and kind of know, like, what they're, kind of question them a little bit more to, like, really hone in on what they're struggling with.
Yeah. So. It'll probably be good if the student would also notify their parents, like, hey, just so you know, I reached out to Mrs. Michaels and, said this or whatever, just so that the parent is aware as well. But yeah, it's kind of a bit better if the teacher knows the full scope of it, so I totally see that. So those are a few tips, especially for those of you who have a first-time middle schooler who already have questions. I know I probably, the minute Dylan graduated from 5th grade, I was like, oh, what do I need to be doing? So if you can begin to practice some of these tips and tricks with your kid during the summer, you'll be set up for a little more success as they begin middle school in the fall. So, all right, well, thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us, and please come back for my next interview.